Kash Heed, former chief of police, former solicitor general in British Columbia, spent 4 years over in Victoria as an MLA for Vancouver Fraserview. Well, I think you've got to look at the definition of corruption. If something's broken, it's broken. And that's my definition of corruption. It doesn't have to be that criminal corruption. It could lead to that criminal corruption. But when something's broken, when this system is broken to the extent it is, there's a fine balance between the definition of corruption on here. And I strongly believe these two issues that are being pushed, pushed with both hands and both feet, by the BC Liberals are problematic to the people of BC, and the accountability of those projects is not quite clear. It's not as transparent as it should be. The Olympics were never, Bob, you're right, were as transparent as they should be. We will never know. The same is in place for these two major infrastructure projects here in British Columbia. And is there really a need for it? You look at, for example, let's talk about the East Tunnel for a minute, because Greg Moore and the other mayors have been quite vocal, and Greg Moore on several issues, but the mayors have a 10-year vision here for the Metro Vancouver area, and the tunnel is not in that particular, or the bridge is not in that particular vision. So, work with these local governments, because they're the ones that are going to be impacted by large infrastructure projects such as the Massey tunnel replacement. We saw that in the last campaign in 2013. You saw a focus on China, you saw a focus on India, a focus on some of the other Eastern countries as our trade partners in this. I think we're so inundated by what is going on south of our border in the United States. Every news network is somewhat covering it, and every day you look at your phone and all the alerts and all that, they're based on something from the New York Times, from CNN, on Trump. I think we're so fixated on that. I think the Liberals are really trying to take advantage of that, trying to say, look, we're going to be the assertive one. We are going. Christy Clark is going to be the one to stand up to Donald Trump. We know that's not going to happen. We know that is just rhetoric, and the voters are not stupid people. They need to pick up on the fact that this is just rhetoric. Trudeau sticking his hand into the BC election, that's not going to have any effect, I don't think. It's just rhetoric, it's just posturing, that's all that is.
Mm-hmm. We also have a situation where we have Premier Christy Clark represents a Kelowna riding where she wants to get re-elected. She has a house near Vancouver City Hall in the Fairview riding, but she actually lives in the Colchina riding in Dunbar, in a house that I've asked a lot of questions about, haven't been provided any proof that she's actually paying rent there. And that's one of the undercovered stories, especially if you know the history of British Columbia politics with Bill Vanderzem and Fantasy Gardens and Glenn Clark and his debt repairs.
I know this well. I've been through all of that, and knowing full well what is going on. And Bob, you've drawn attention to some important matters. And I think when you start to correlate that with some of the lobbying going on, when you start to correlate that with some of the money that's been given to certain organizations to do certain things, when you correlate that with some of the donors on that, you've got to draw some conclusions based on that. That is concerning, what is going on there. I followed it simply because you raised it, and I have yet to see anything that satisfies my mind on explaining why her residency is set up in that way. Now, they're going to hide behind that. They're going to say, that is a personal matter. Bob Mackin, you don't need to know about that. You ask any questions about that, I'm just going to ignore you. They're going to take the Donald Trump approach, just walk away or not say anything. But the people of BC want to know. The people of BC wanted to know about the $50,000 stipend that was given to the Premier, albeit it's from the Liberal Party, but still, she is the Premier of this province, and in fact that is an issue. The House is an issue. You start to go back and you start to draw in several issues that she has to be more transparent and accountable to the people that put her in office here in British Columbia. Well, they don't want to take responsibility for it. They are going to be forced to address it, Bob. If they are elected, they will be forced and they will address it. Whatever party gets in, if the NDP get in, they're going to be forced to address this particular issue because both parties have benefited. I'm sure the Greens are somewhat benefiting from it, although they're a little more particular on who they're going to accept donations from, but they are going to have to address it. Wynne got caught in Ontario, she had to address it. Trudeau got caught nationally, he had to address it. Clark has been caught. I'm surprised she didn't address it before the election, but she's going to bring in as much money as she can for that party before she has to address it. She does not, and I'm sure their polling shows that this is not an issue, unfortunately, that's resonating in the minds of voters. It should be resonating in the minds of voters because it shows you just how these parties work. They are not there to do the right thing for the people of British Columbia. They're there, unfortunately, for a select few groups that are donating to them.
For the election, if you have
it's tough. I think areas that you have to look at, you got to look at the Lower Mainland. I think the Lower Mainland is going to be very, very telling. But an area that I think we need to pay particular attention to is Vancouver Island. Now, Andrew Weaver, I think that's where he will make his gains, if any gains, on Vancouver Island. So the dynamics going on there may show, a minority government with the Greens holding power. But they're going to have to get, in my opinion, at least 3 people elected to hold that balance of power. But it's very close to call. I've been in the offices of both parties. I have talked to people within the Liberal Party that are very, very close to campaigns and running campaigns, and they're saying we just need the Premier to be quiet for a while. Just get us through the next 4 days and just don't go out there because the demeanor of her is just it's rubbing people the wrong way. I've been on the other side in the NDP, and they're a little nervous here too. Nobody can really, in my opinion, predict what is going to happen. I'm not sure if the voter is going to make up their mind the minute they walk into that ballot booth. I think a lot of people are going to go into that booth undecided, and at the end of the day, are they going to vote for what they feel is the best person to represent their riding? I don't know. Are they going to vote for the leader? Are they going to hold their nose and vote? We'll have to wait and see.